Going to start this morning with the back page of The Sun. Unai of the Storm, Arsenal in crisis. Emery feeling heat from board. He fears revolt if Xhaka acts as captain. What do you think of this? You're an Arsenal fan?
I think part of me feels a little bit sorry for Granit Xhaka. I think it was a poor appointment in the first place, and I think as soon as he was appointed Arsenal captain, a moment like what we saw on Sunday was always going to happen, and part of me does feel sorry for him. Then again, it's not exactly very captain of a player to go off, cupping his ears, taking his jersey off, walking straight down the tunnel. Probably do need to carry yourself in a bit of a better way than that. It's kind of fitting, though. It is kind of the traditional thing of an Arsenal captain, perhaps finding a lack of glory in many places. The Arsenal fans have never liked Granit Xhaka. He's always been hard to love for a number of reasons, but I think really because he's kind of summed up a department of the team that hasn't been firing at all over the last few seasons. Kind of a weak enough midfield, a player who's prone to mistakes, a player who's fiery, which would lend itself to being a good captain, but ultimately a player who's, I keep using that word, who's erratic, and that can allow things to creep into his game. And
captaincy in football is irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. It makes no odds. Keane and Vieira were both kicking lumps out of each other and getting sent off when they were captains, and that wasn't like, oh, what a captain, he's getting sent off. Like it's just you go up for the toss, and that's it. You are valued to your team by the quality of play that you bring, consistency over the course of a season.
But he gets booed at the weekend because he's captain.
He gets booed because he's getting taken off. And if he's getting,
I like the fact that he's captain.
If he's getting booed because he's captain, then the fans are dumb.
Well,
it doesn't matter that he's captain.
It's a lightning rod.
But
it's a lightning rod for sure.
They don't single him out because he's captain.
I think that the reception is way more poisonous for him because he is captain.
But then the fans are stupid.
This was a story. This was a big story over the last couple of weeks that Granit Xhaka was going to become Arsenal captain.
And then he becomes captain. Or who's he replacing?
So Mertesacker a couple of seasons ago, then he goes in. Will we go through the previous captains?
Do you want to do this piece?
Let's do this piece, because like Granit Xhaka is at the end of a long old line, Ger. It's kind of a line that tires me out when it comes to talking about Arsenal captains. And you talk about people who've had the armband. You go back to Thierry Henry, who was, in my opinion, probably the last captain who was free of any sort of bad legacy when it comes to Arsenal. So after Thierry Henry, you had a good couple of options when it came to Arsenal captain. Gilberto Silva actually looked to be the front runner, but no, they didn't pick Gilberto Silva. They went for William Gallas, who of course we all remember as that strop in Birmingham. And then a couple of years later, a couple of months later actually, let's rip it. Teammates for lacking courage. Says Arsenal are not brave enough in battle. Insults from unnamed player have caused unrest. William Gallas there launching an astonishing attack on his young teammates, claiming they are not brave enough in battle, and revealing he has been forced to step in to prevent players arguing during games. He was stripped of captaincy after that. Cesc Fabregas was next man up. That's where his career finished, not at Arsenal. Next man up, Robin van Persie. Where did his career finish? Oh yeah, there he is, scoring against Arsenal after he leaves as captain. After van Persie leaves, Thomas Vermaelen comes in as Arsenal captain. For me, this was a very, very good decision, but his career ended up as an unused sub in an FA Cup semi-final, like as if the armband itself actually takes away all the talent from within you, kind of like Michael Jordan and his colleagues in Space Jam. That is what the Arsenal captaincy tends to do to Arsenal players. And it was the same with Mikel Arteta. Only played 16 times for Arsenal after he became Arsenal captain. That is the peak right there. Manchester City in his coaching career is the peak of his career after he became Arsenal captain. After that then, you had Per Mertesacker, who was, for me, the last good Arsenal choice as a captain at that point. Barely played when he was captain, but they did keep him as a coach at least. And then to answer your question, who was captain before Granit Xhaka? Well, it was this guy. That is Granit Xhaka. Let's have a look. And that is how Lauren Koscielny's career as Arsenal captain ended. It's cursed. It's an absolute curse. And that is why I think when they were considering who will become next Arsenal captain, they were like, let's pick somebody that we can do without. Let's just give it to Granit Xhaka. We don't care if he gets booed off. The armband is going to destroy this guy's career, and we can't afford to allow it to destroy the careers of any of our talented attackers.
Did they deserve to take him off the weekend? Did he deserve to come off at 2-2 with an hour gone? Was he like definitely the player that they needed to sub off?
Not necessarily. but it was probably required at that moment in terms of trying to go and hunt out a final goal, which, to be fair, they did get. And Arsenal will be sitting here this morning, like, I hate complaining about refereeing decisions, but the VAR decision against Socrates was an absolute and utter catastrophe, and it was a joke of a call. No point getting into it. Really, another 2-2 draw is exactly where Arsenal are probably at the moment, but they should be sitting there in the aftermath thinking to themselves, well, that was a bad thing that happened in the game, but at least they ended up winning. But it ended up being captain gets taken off, cups his ear to the crowd, gets booed off, and they also had a perfectly good goal ruled out.
It was the refusal to shake hands with the manager and storming off down the tunnel that adds a bit of impact to the bit where he's like telling the crowd to F off.
Yeah, and so something is definitely going to give way here over the next couple of months. It could be Unai Emery himself, and
or not. Or this is an opportunity for them all to go and sit around and go, "Look, well, how do we get to the situation where you're coming off, you're not playing well?" If we all agree that the captaincy is important, which I don't think they should, but anyway, this needs to be a trigger point for them to go, let's either decide to fix this collectively, or let's all decide we're all getting fired. You're going to leave, I'm going to get fired, and they'll pay me up, so I don't really mind.
Just bring in all the different stakeholders, bring in Arsenal Fan TV to spread positive messages about this guy.
Yeah.
Stop the booing, stop the jeering, and everybody can be happy with their lives again.
That's exactly it.
Go for the top 4 trophy again.
Stick it live on YouTube. What have you got for us?
We've got the Irish Independent here. Brian O'Driscoll's quote leading the way. Schmidt in Ireland ran out of ideas. McCarthy said to recall fit again. Brady is the news on the Ireland camp of the squad set to be named for the Denmark game. And one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. That is the sounds out of the Irish hockey camp. And then there's also a picture there of Chris Hughton, 40 years to the day since he made his Ireland debut. He's got an exclusive interview in the Irish Independent.
Nice jersey that Chris Hughton was wearing in that one as well. So here's the back page of the Herald this morning. In from the cold, Brady will get chance to prove himself. And then breaking the mould, 40 years since Chris Hughton's Irish debut. It's obviously the same interview that they've done there. There's also a front page story which pertains to the marathon. Hero Garda saves life of marathon runner. Garda is being hailed a hero for saving a man's life after he collapsed during the Dublin Marathon. Detective Garda Niamh Connaughton was on duty near Chapel Izard on Sunday when the runner collapsed in front of her with a suspected heart attack. Thanks to her, some children or grandchildren might still have their dad or granddad around, said a fellow detective. So, well done to Detective Garda Niamh Connaughton.
And the Irish Times leads with their build-up to the Rugby World Cup final. Springboks' first black captain, Khaleesi, on the brink of monumental achievement. It's Jerry Thornley's piece here talking about Khaleesi, who was watching the 2007 final from a tavern in his wide township. He was offered his first contract at Western Province at the age of 18 by Rassie Erasmus, and then, of course, Erasmus ends up making him the first black captain of the Springboks in their 126-year history. So, got a bit of history there. Like, if you dig too deep into how progressive this current South African team is, you might end up with a few unpleasant answers.
Yeah.
But on the face of it, it's obviously a
the
great
ongoing
story.
case.
The Khaleesi story is a good story, and I don't think there's any question
the
about
ongoing
that.
case around Even Estevez still hasn't been cleared up just yet. Exactly what happened on the night. The allegations are that, which he's obviously denied, but there was an ongoing court case, isn't that right?
It certainly didn't reach its conclusion. I don't want to say that it's ongoing, or was it just pushed aside, or what happened there?
Yeah. There's an allegation that he beat up 3 men outside, I think it's outside a bar, or certainly outside a premises anyway, and that there was a racial motivation involved in it. He's completely denied that, of course, and they say that the case is being taken to extract some money from him. So the Daily Mirror, give him a break. Bellerin calls him fans to forgive Xhaka as Gunners stars visit the captain's home to show support. The melodrama around Arsenal is the best part about this.
Without question.
Like,
It's the finest soap opera that's ever existed.
I mean, they're grown men. Get on with it.
I've never had thankfully, I've never had any serious addiction in my life where I've experienced the sensation of relapsing. But I felt it on Sunday night when I was like, Arsenal Fan TV, sounds pretty good right now. Sounds pretty good. But thankfully I had to go out the door, so I actually didn't get around to it. So,
right, you haven't gone back since?
That was my nicotine patch on Sunday. Just getting out of the house.
Sitting there somewhere, just crawling down your spine, going, exactly. Oh, excuse me.
I just wanted a bit of Robbie and Claude and the schadenfreude that comes with it. The melodrama, is putting it lightly. It's a beautiful piece of theatre.
The other one is Randolph still hopeful that he'll be fit for Euro test against Danes. This is despite the fact that the Middlesbrough manager had said that he wouldn't be fit. Darren Randolph is like, oh, look, I'm going to go. I'm going to be fit. I'm keeping my place.
The Racing Post leads with Hutchinson in shock decision to quit saddles. This is Wayne Hutchinson, shocking the jump racing world yesterday as he announced his retirement from the saddle with immediate effect. And on the back page, you've got Cup offers silver lining for Toffees, and Aubameyang is favoured to lead Arsenal. So Mark Langdon saying that Granit Xhaka is 6-4 to lead Arsenal out in their next Premier League match after his bust-up with the Emirates faithful. Wolves visit North London on Saturday, and Xhaka is certain to receive a cool reception. So he was chosen to skipper by the players, but Aubameyang is 8-11 to wear the armband against Wolves.
The Times, the London Times, we won't let nation down, vows Jones. Eddie Jones he was having a day. He was having himself an afternoon yesterday in the press conference, rejecting the claim that England had peaked too soon, and said they're aiming to cheer up a country divided over Brexit by beating South Africa in the World Cup final. So Warren Gatland had wondered whether or not England might be able to rescale the heights of their 19-7 victory over New Zealand. Can you send my best wishes to Warren and make sure he enjoys the fourth place playoff? There's no place in world sport more hated and more despised by anybody, but particularly the people who are involved in the sport, than the fourth place playoff. Because you were so close, inches away from being involved in the biggest occasion that the whole sport has to offer. But yet here you are, in a match that no one cares about, that particularly in rugby is just a recipe for injury and despair. There's a smell of want off the fourth place playoff. And rubbing it in, smearing Warren Gatland with your first place juice is what Eddie Jones is doing. It's like, oh, we've got the first place thing. We've got that big game, the one that you've spent your 15 years at Wales trying to get into, but never quite managed, Warren. First time round with England. Look at me, Warren. I'm Eddie Jones. Enjoy.
Is it it seems that it's either a prepared barb or something that's really irked Eddie Jones, because Warren Gatland might have a point. There are very famous cases down through the years of Rugby World Cup semi-final victories that have been so extraordinary that he just could not be matched a week later in the Rugby World Cup final. And Eddie Jones is clearly aware of this. Eddie Jones is a man who led a team to beat the All Blacks in a World Cup and then could not follow that up with a World Cup win. This is part of his psychological view, and I would say a hugely important part of how England are motivated and how England's minds are focused ahead of next weekend. That is the exact thing that he did not want said about this England team, that there has been very famous cases before of teams beating big teams like the All Blacks and then subsequently not winning the World Cup. So he's obviously touched a nerve there, Gatland, and I think he has a point. He is on the back page of The Guardian as well, Eddie Jones. Enjoyed a third place playoff. Jones continuing war of words with Wales coach Gatland. And James Milner is the main story there. I hate VAR, and I don't think many footballers feel differently. We're completely exhausted with talking about VAR, right? Is there anything left to be said that hasn't been said about VAR? The one thing that in this interview actually that was kind of rumoured, but James Milner confirms it, is that Jurgen Klopp did wear Cristiano Ronaldo boxer shorts when making his final team talk before Liverpool faced Real Madrid in the 2018 Champions League final. I'd heard that out there. It was kind of an urban myth, and I was like, not a chance. But Milner said it was true.
Was there a reason? What was the psychological?
Just to make them laugh, just to make them, a bit more bubbly, a bit more happy before facing the greatest player in the world at that point.
Okay. Most of the stuff he's done has worked for him, in fairness. Don't give Jacques flack. Bellerin begs fans to forgive Granit's antics and Randolph in race to be fit, as well as double coup in store for the boys. Celtic winger James Forrest has revealed he's set to agree a new contract. And on-loan keeper Fraser Forster admits he couldn't turn down a long-term return to the Scottish champions. The Mail is best of three is the headline at the back of it there. Ireland aces on track to feature against Danes, so there's three of them. Shane Duffy, Darren Randolph and Glenn Whelan will also figure in the squad despite injury fears. And what have you got?
The Daily Telegraph, war of words. England coach kicks off World Cup final week by taunting Wales. Those comments that we brought to you already. And Johnny Wilkinson is saying this lot are quicker, faster and stronger than the 2003 team.
The Examiner this morning is Blue Blood. They have an interview with Bernard Brogan. Kieran Shannon's done a two-page spread, and that's worth digging out today for you if you want to have a look at that. Blame game. Cullen counters claim Leinster playing style worked against Ireland. This is interesting. We're going to pick it up with Brian Driscoll in just a minute. Cullen says narrow focus on Lancaster misses the point. Why does nobody pick up the change of coaches in Munster? Did that have an effect? Or the change of coaches at Connacht? And last one for now is the Irish News. GAA 2 nicey in deciding winners. McGee. This is Eamon McGee. Definitely a picture of Eamon McGee. I haven't read this piece yet, but I'm looking forward to it. What does he mean? What's too nicey? A draw the Donegal final this weekend. He feels like there's a replay on Wednesday. He feels that there should be one of the clubs refusing to play winner takes all on the day. So he's like, come on, let's just have the penalty shootout. No extra time, straight to penalties, straight to 45s, and make the keeper start and work forward 1 to 15.
Penalties are way better. We haven't got enough of this in 2019. 2019 was supposed to be the year where the penalties were supposed to explode.
We've had a lot of people stepping in and say, you can't be having penalties.
Remember the hope of the FBD League? Mayo versus Roscommon, wasn't it? Or was it Mayo versus Galway? And penalty shootout deciding that. That was supposed to be the start of a beautiful year, a beautiful relationship between the Irish people and penalty shootouts. And it just didn't happen.
Somebody whose YouTube name is Damien Moignier Beastie. Is it real, do you think? It could be. Come on, Owen, we'd be supporting you if you were in the final, he says.
Thank you very much, Damien.
Moignier Beastie.
Is it Moignier's middle name or Moignier Beastie, a double barrel?
Double barrel.
Well,
That's
thank you very
the
much.
champagne they serve for breakfast in his prep school.
What country is Damien from?
I presume he's an England fan. Danny B is an Irish fan. England's rugby has been phenomenal. Pace, power, skill. However, Eddie Jones being Eddie Jones has reminded me why I don't like them winning. His comments on Gatlin were lame. Right, it is 7:58 this morning. You're watching OTB AM. Up next, we're talking the Rugby World Cup final with Brian O'Driscoll and Alan Quinlan.